Here I have my list of threats. No, this is not an exhaustive list. I am 100% sure if I read over this paper again, I could pick out a few more, but these are the ones that stood out to me from reading the paper just once, right? So these are the ones I'm going to use. I'm going to try and be as detailed as I can and show you how I would go through these. So let me just have a quick run through of the list of the threats. So as you can see here, I say consider possible solutions while doing this. I'm going to give context as well. So for each one, I'm going to try and say how I could potentially fix this. There's no point in picking up a threat and you have absolutely no idea how to fix it, because when you get to activity, I'm going to say activity 2 or 3, where you need to do that stuff, you're going to be stuck. So first one says Wi-Fi connection being hacked or being attacked. Sorry, router has Wi-Fi. Let me go back to my exam paper. So in 3 locations we have Wi-Fi. We have Wi-Fi, we have the guest Wi-Fi and mobile devices being connected here via a wireless access point. I'm assuming this is a wireless access point because that's what normally links to a switch. We have another one down here, which is the staff Wi-Fi and mobile devices. So maybe different passwords for each one, which is perfect. So guests cannot get onto the staff one, but staff can get onto the guest one. We also have Wi-Fi on the router. Now, this is, as I mentioned before, something we don't want. Giving access to freelance trainers and assessors. So again, giving access is not necessarily the issue. The issue is the kind of access we give. So they simply say give access. So my solution to this would be to have an access control list later on, limit the amount of access that they have and limit the time to which they have that access. Clients having enhanced system access, again, very, very similar. Clients shouldn't be able to view any other client's information. So when I create the access list for the current client, let's say I'm the system admin, my current client is, I don't know, Microsoft, right? Microsoft shouldn't be able to see when they log into the system to try and see files. They shouldn't be able to see anything from the other companies, let's say Amazon or Google or Nokia. They shouldn't be able to see anything from those guys. Now, again, as I've mentioned, this is not an exhaustive list. My list might be wrong. I might have made a mistake on my list. If I have, please point it out if you think it's a mistake. That's no problem at all to me. I'll go and redo this entire video. But just to let you know, there are more, but I just haven't picked out every single one. The next one is Sing is not a network specialist. Misconfiguring is likely. This is a big threat because even though we might attach a firewall to the system, right? We have stateful firewalls and we have stateless firewalls. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but one of them is going to watch what happens, and one of them is going to remember, one of them is going to say, this looks a bit fishy. One of them is just going to let everything through if not configured properly. So we need to make sure that the person doing the work is a specialist in that area, because security is a very big important area. Next, we have key cards come from external source. Not a really big one, but still quite important, I think, because if the key cards come from a company that's not your company, if the key cards are being programmed by some random individual that's not inside of your company and they make a mistake, it could potentially impact you, because you don't know if that person programming the key cards is going to give it to someone who is a friend, a fireman, an electrician to just go and do the work. It's fine. They might send them up at, I don't know, 9 p.m. to go and do the work. There's no one in the office. The person could do whatever they want. Shared internet access, limited control over router. So as mentioned before, this image up here said that we have services panel, internet access point, patch panel, so on and so forth. The fact that this is here, I'm making the assumption again that every single floor has the same thing, because this is how these buildings are normally made. Every floor has the same thing, and even so, when someone has access to this panel here, this gray panel here at the back, they technically have access to everything. Now there might be a lock on the one for the internet or the one for the electrical stuff, but in general they have access to more or less everything. So that could be an issue as well. And how I would fix this, I would change it. I would maybe, for the internet access panel, there would be a key card that you need to get into it. I would put a heavy duty coded padlock on there, right? Whatever you deem fit. But that's not the point of this section. The point of this section here is simply to list the threats. I've picked up roughly 6, and I've said to you 6 to 8, 6 to 10 is like a good number. That's 6 to 8, so 6, 7, or 8, and 6 to 10, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. That's a good number. 10 seems a bit excessive because of the amount of work that needs to be done in the 5 hours for exam paper A, but the choice is yours. This is the risk severity matrix again. I'm going to show you guys how to use this again. Okay, the first one I have is giving access. You know what? Let me change it. Let me do a nice, easy one that's very easy to use. So let me change it to this one instead. Wi-Fi connection being attacked. Router has Wi-Fi, right? I don't need this part. This is just notes for me again. So I would remove this part. So I would simply say Wi-Fi connection being attacked. Now, we need to find out the probability of this threat occurring. That's the first thing we do. The second thing we do, we need to work out the size of the loss, which is going to be this section down here. And then finally, we work out the risk severity. So I'm going to show you again how to use this table. First things first, the probability of the threat occurring. Because we have 3 separate places where Wi-Fi is being broadcasted, I think this is likely, especially on the guest one. So I'm going to say, for me, I'm going to say very likely. So I'm going to simply highlight this one. Again, you don't have to do it like this. You could simply write it down, but this is how I want to do it. I'm going to show both ways actually. So I'm going to show this way first. Where's the highlight thing? 1 second. I think it's that one. And I'm going to maybe, here, there we go, highlight that green. So the probability of this threat occurring is very likely, in my opinion. The size of the loss, if it happens, if someone hacks the Wi-Fi and gets access to that main switch, and by proxy of that gets access to the main servers, it's game over. Every piece of information you have, they didn't mention anything about the server being encrypted, so I have to make the assumption it's not encrypted, otherwise they would say. So that's probably another threat or another issue I could add actually, the server's not being encrypted. So for the size of loss, I'm going to say major. And let me do green again. And the risk severity for me is going to be extreme. So this is how it works. You go probability first, one of these 3 options. Then you go size of loss, one of these 3 options, and then based on the what's this column you're on, you choose a risk severity from the one above. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I said it was minor. Then if it was minor, I could probably go low or medium. It couldn't be anything else. If I said it was moderate, I could go low, medium, or high. But because I've said it's extreme, it's going to be medium, high, or extreme. These are the options I have. I'm going to choose extreme because I think this is very, very serious. And this is going to be what I have for that one. And even beyond that, what I would do, let me copy this again one more time and then have that there. This is just going to be like a compressed version of what I've said above. And I'm going to say probability. And under here, I'm going to say very likely. I spelled that wrong. Of course I did. Likely. Under that, I'm going to have size of loss. And under size of loss, I'm going to have major. And under risk severity, I'm going to put, what did I say? Extreme. Maybe just have this for each one. So again, this is the threat or issue or weakness or whatever you want to label it as, that's fine. And I would do this thing for every single threat I have. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I had another threat there, another one here. I would do this as many times as I need to. But what I'm going to do both, so that you guys can choose whichever option is best for you. I would recommend doing both personally because this is a simple copy and paste job. This is a simple copy and paste job. So let me get a blank one of this, which is just copy that, paste it here, and I would remove the threat and I would remove this stuff as well. Just so when I'm ready, I can just paste it in. Full stop there, and that's it. That's the first one done. The first one for me is Wi-Fi connection being attacked. The next threat I have on my list is giving access to freelance trainers and assessors. And again, freelance people are not hired by the company directly. They're simply brought in to try and help do some of the work that's needed to be done. They have generally as much access as a person who's been hired, but this can be dangerous. Now, I could combine these 2 things, giving access willy-nilly or just giving too much access to non-internal people. So giving system access to external people. You know what? Let's do that one, right? See, there we go. So I'm going to remove these 2 now. And that one, number 4, is going to replace number 2 and 3. So giving access to freelance trainers and assessors, and clients having enhanced system access. Giving system access to external people, that covers that one. And this is what I'm going to copy. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to, what did I put? Number 2, I believe. Paste that there. And I'm going to copy and paste. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see everything I'm doing. I'm going to copy and paste the table. This is the blank table that's given to you in the template. I'm going to click on the what's this? the box to the top left hand side of it that highlights everything inside the table. I'm going to go Control C to copy. I'm going to come down here where I have this one and Control V for Victor to paste. And I'm going to do this for each one of my threats. So I'm going to do that first, just to make sure I have everything. Threat number 3 is Sing not being a network specialist. Yeah, that's definitely a big one for me. I'm going to do number 3 here. Just going to fill this in quickly. I'm going to still have it on screen so everyone can see it. I'm going to copy the table again. I'm going to paste it below this one. Oh, sorry. Paste it below that one just so I have it. Let me paste the table a few more times. I think I have 5 or 6 of them. And then my number 4 is going to be this one. Key cards come from external company or external source. Number 3 is here. Do number 4 about here. Number 4. I'm going to paste that. Get rid of that. Number 5 on my list is going to be shared internet access. Copy that one. Go all the way down here. I'm going to say number 5, shared internet access. There was another one I said I could do. I don't remember which one it was now, to be fair. No encrypt, CRY, no encryption on the servers. They didn't tell us this. Now, this one I might be reaching a bit because it can be assumed that encryption would be on servers. But again, this guy isn't a network specialist. He's only an avid IT user. So you know what? I'm going to leave it in there and I'm going to show you how I would approach this one as well. So this is going to be my number 6. So I'm going to have 6 issues essentially. Let me put that one there. Let me go down, number 6. And I'm going to make a copy of this table again. I'm going to copy and paste it here. And I think I have all of them. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, because I said I wanted to show you guys both options. This is my very first one. This is the condensed version of the table above. You might not want to read the entire table, but this is just a condensed version that makes sense to most people. So I'm going to copy and paste this as well under each one, under each table that is, so I can then fill this in and move a bit quicker. So that's number 3. Let's bring this one up. Put that one under number 3. Put a bit of space there. Put that one under number 4. Put a bit of space there. Put that one under number 5. Put a bit of space there. Now, I apologize for this taking so long, but I do want to show every single step so that there's nothing left to the imagination, okay? Now, I'm going to zoom out a bit just so you can see everything, and I'm going to explain what I've done again. So, the first thing is I have a list of threats. That's the very first thing. Find the issues with the system. That's what I've done here. The next thing is I have my risk severity matrix. This is the empty table, the empty one that's given to us in the template. So you actually get this in the template. I did this myself just so I can have a condensed version of the table above. I think this is useful for probably the later activities as well. Now, the very first threat I have, this is just for the very first threat. Let me zoom in on this one. What I've said for this one is the name of the threat or the issue is called Wi-Fi connection being attacked. The probability of this occurring, I think, is very likely because we have 3 Wi-Fi signals being broadcasted across the network. We have one for staff Wi-Fi, one for guest Wi-Fi, and we also have one coming from the main router or router, however you say it. So I think it's very likely. Hence, I've highlighted the very likely one. Next, we have the size of the loss. And I think the size of the loss would be, in my opinion, major. Because if you hack the Wi-Fi, any one of them, you get access to the main switch. And if you get access to the main switch, you get access to the main servers as well, potentially, right? So I'm going to say major. And the risk severity, again, this is a risk severity matrix. So the risk severity, in my opinion, is going to be extreme. You could do high as well, to be fair. It doesn't have to be extreme, but I'm going to always think worst case scenario, right? If you think worst case scenario, you plan for the worst, but you hope for the best. And that's going to be my very first one. And then down here, I condense it. I simply say the threat name is Wi-Fi connection being attacked. I simply copy and pasted this. The probability is very likely. That comes from this left-hand side here. I have the size of loss is major. That comes from this section down here, this row down here. So minor, major, or moderate. And then I have my risk severity as being my final thing. That comes from this section here. So maybe what I should do is probably just highlight this in different colors. But in any case, this is my condensed version. Let's do one for the second one now. The second one says giving system access to external people. Oh, this is a big one as well, I think. Um, how likely is this to happen? I think likely. I think likely. Now, the reason I'm not saying very likely, the people that you are giving access to, when we look at the diagram, we're giving access to guests. So people that we've invited, that's number one. We're giving access to trainers, and I think they said assessors. We're giving access to clients as well. So people who are relatively trustworthy, not the worst people in the world, not random people coming off the street, right? So I'm going to say likely for that one. I'm going to highlight that one green. The size of the loss, I would, ooh, if someone does get into the system, it's major. I would say major because again, they have access to everything. So maybe I should change that likely, which I have here, to very likely as well. But for now, let's leave it at that. Let me put this one as major. And again, if they get into the system, and the system is not just the switch, the system is not just the Wi-Fi, the system, the main part of the system is the server or are the servers. If people get access to your servers, think of a server. A server is nothing but a big, let me Google servers, right? When you watch those movies and you see people in those rooms trying to steal things, that's what a server is. This is a server room, let's say, right? So let's just say the company has two, three, four. This is a server rack. These are server racks. If someone can get access to this information because they've hacked your Wi-Fi, they've gotten into your system, you've given them access to the servers, but you haven't limited the access, right? Then this could be an issue. I'm gonna say high or extreme. I'm gonna say high. You know what? Extreme. Why not go extreme? Extreme because if they have access to everything, again, that's detrimental to the company. And then down here, I'm going to simply copy and paste this information and write in the extra bits. So for threat, oh, what did I do there? Oh, what did I do? For threat, I'm going to say giving system access to external people, right? Or external entities, whichever one works fine. I'm going to say likely. Size of loss, I'm going to say major. And then the risk severity, I'm going to say, what did I say for that one? Extreme as well. I might be going over the top saying extreme, but hey, why not? The next one I'm going to do, Sing is not a network specialist. Misconfiguring something is likely. Again, this doesn't need to be added. This is just some notes I left there. So Sing is not a network specialist. The probability of a threat occurring because he's not a network specialist, again, very likely. This is all going to seem like it's very likely, but maybe it isn't. And I say it's very likely because if he misconfigures one second, if he misconfigures one single thing on here, if he misconfigures the staff Wi-Fi so that guests can access it, they can access the switch, they can access the servers. If he misconfigures the guest Wi-Fi so that random people can come in and simply jump onto the Wi-Fi and access stuff, they can probably access the switch in some way. And if they know what they're doing, they can access the servers. And the servers actually aren't encrypted. There was nothing there saying the server was encrypted, so I'm going to make the assumption that they're not encrypted. So I'm going to say very likely for that one. Green. Size of loss, for him, it's going to be major. And for that one, it's going to be extreme. Now, not all of them are going to be very likely major and extreme, but it just seems as if these ones are, to me, I might be wrong, but that's not even the main thing. The main thing is I want to show you guys how to use the risk severity matrix. And hopefully it's making sense. So threat, I'm going to say Sing is not a network specialist. And then the probability, what did I say? Very likely. Why do I always spell this wrong? Likely. Size of loss, I've said major and extreme. All right, so that's that there. And again, that's number 3. Key cards come from external source. This one's going to be a bit tricky, but let's see if I can make sense of it. So I'm going to say this is likely, not very likely, likely because there are ways to check up on who's programmed what. So I can make the assumption there's going to be a system there that checks who actually programmed this card the day they programmed it. So someone might not be silly enough to simply give the card to anyone willy-nilly, but let's just say likely for now. Size of loss, You know what? It could be moderate, it could be major, because if someone gives someone else a card to access everything, they could go in there and steal 100 laptops. They could go in there and steal 100 PCs. They could go in there and plug a memory stick into the server and copy everything off. They could go in there and attach something to the router or the network switch or whatever that actually collects all the information being sent and received and sends it to some remote location somewhere else. That is very, very possible. So, because of that, I'm going to say size of loss as maybe, let's use moderate for this one. You know what? Let's just use moderate for this one. And then I'm going to say it's going to be high. The size of the risk severity is going to be high. So likely, moderate, it could be medium or high. I'm just going to choose high for this one. So threat is key cards. I'm going to do this, copy that, put the capital K there, paste the rest of it. It still messes up. All right, that's fine. Threat. Yep, and the probability is going to be likely. Size of loss, moderate, and risk severity. I'm going to say high for this one. All right, again, that's fine. Oh, what happened here? This should be number 5. But let's not worry about that for now. See, that fixes it. Yep, perfect. So shared internet access, limited control over the router. Now, shared internet access doesn't mean that every single person in the building is going to be using the same Wi-Fi or the same staff Wi-Fi or guest Wi-Fi. Shared internet access means that building has internet sent to it. Let's say here in the UK, we have Virgin, O2, TalkTalk, BT, so on and so forth. So the entire building has internet sent to it. And what the building provider or the building owner has done, they said, you know what, everyone can simply plug in an Ethernet port to our system. So this optical fiber internet access point here is what we get as the normal people in the building. I can then plug in here via Cat6 connection, right? So everyone in the building is actually sharing the same internet, but we're not connected to the same switch or wireless access point, let's say. So because of that, I'm going to say the building owner could be a real scumbag, and the building owner could be monitoring everything that's going in and out of the network. So because of that, how likely is that? I would really and truly in the real world, it's unlikely. But in a system like this where they know that it's IT, I'm going to say likely. The threat occurring is likely. So shared internet access, the threat here is not that it's shared internet access. The threat here is that you have no control. You have very limited control over what is being seen by other people. I'm going to say likely for this one. Um, Size of loss. To be fair, would there be a massive size of loss? I don't think a massive size of loss would be the issue. I think the issue would come from being spied on and things you're sending and receiving being intercepted. So, but we would still label that as size of loss for the purpose of this exam. So I would say maybe, let's see, size of loss, probability, shared internet access, limited control over router, moderate or major, but high. Size of loss would be major. Where's the thing gone? Major here, and I would put high for that one. All right, I'm not going to type these in for now, just so I can move a bit quicker. This video is already getting too long. Number 6, no encryption on the server. This is, again, something that is assumed by me because it wasn't stated implicitly that there is encryption on the server, so I'm making the assumption. This, very likely, straight away. Size of loss, major, and then extreme, straight away, because if there's no encryption on the server, what encryption is? Encryption is the way by which we scramble or jumble the information that we have so that if someone else, a third party, gets access to it, they will not be able to read the information. For example, let me just come down here, like giving context. So let's say my name is Bob, right? And what I do, I say my cipher, the thing that I use to encrypt, is going to be, I don't know, +2, right? So that means that every letter I type, so B, C, D, and what's after O? Element of O, P, Q. Let's just say Q for argument's sake. D, Q, D. This is my original message. Bob is my original message, right? +2 is my cipher. No one else but me knows this. And then this is my encrypted word or sentence or document or whatever. So when someone else sees DQ, they're like, I have no idea what this is. right? Now, some people might be able to work it out because this is a very simple one, but in general, you're not going to have a +2 cipher. You're going to have +100, -50, whatever algorithm you decide to use, that's what it's going to do. So that's how encryption works. And if there's no encryption on a server, what could happen is someone could come in, someone could break in because of the key card they have, someone could hack the Wi-Fi, someone could gain access to one of the laptops or PCs or Ethernet ports. And because the data on your server is not encrypted, you might not lose everything, but what they can easily do is copy off all of those trade secrets that you have. So remember, they mention that they have trade secrets, so the server must be encrypted for the security to be up to par, let's say. They could copy off those trade secrets, and let's say it's, I don't know, Motorola, right? Really relatively small electronics company compared to someone like Samsung, but they have this new thing that's going to change the world forever. You steal their new thing, you bring it to Samsung, and Samsung now has it in their vault and they can use it. Now, companies do this all the time. They steal things from each other all the time. This is a known thing, right? So that's how that would work. I would say for this one, I wasn't going to do that. Say no server CRYPTION. Probability, I would go very likely, major, and I said EXTREME extreme. So hopefully that made sense. Again, I might be wrong on some of these. If I'm wrong, let me know. I didn't do this one. I said, oh, not likely there. Let's do likely here. Let's do major here. Let's do high here. This one was, let me just copy this and fix it quickly. Hopefully this made sense to everyone. Hopefully it was clear enough. Hopefully you guys now know how to use the risk severity matrix. You don't need to copy and paste the table as many times as I have. What you could do is simply write this down. This would be perfectly fine. So rather than copying and pasting the table however many times I have, you could simply have the table once. Let me just move this up. You could have the table once at the very top of everything. You could work out the risk severity for each thing, and you could just have multiple versions of this underneath the table, right? So hopefully that made sense to you guys. Hopefully it was clear enough. If you have any questions on this, drop it in the section below. I will try my very, very best to answer it. And thank you for watching.